So good evening. Um, so today I was gonna talk about some tips for meditation. Um, so I don't usually get into my personal practice much, but recently I've had a good bit of success with meditation. I finally managed to consistently achieve first jhana. Only the first jhana. I haven't gone further than that, but I've been trying for a really long time. I've been meditating consistently, and it has been really difficult to establish first jhana. So I'm really happy that finally I've managed to cultivate enough concentration and the right conditions for me to be able to abide in such a pleasant abiding as often as I can. And of course, part of it was that every time I would reach a state of concentration accompanied by rapture and applied and sustained thought, that I would always, after when I emerged from that concentration, review like how my day was before I went meditating. Like, was there anything specific about the conditions of the mind and of how the day was spent and the time of day or whatever it might be that were the cause of me being able to concentrate and for the hindrances to be abandoned quickly and for jhana to be possible. So I always reviewed, because I feel like people think meditation is more about the sit itself and you directing your mind to the object and establishing mindfulness and trying to establish continuous mindfulness of the object of the breath, for example. But often it's also what you were doing before during the day that has a really strong impact on your concentration. And of course, what I noticed and the tips I'm trying to offer, believe me or not, like I'm just trying to offer some tips, is that on those sits where I was able to get into first jhana, I was typically guarding the sense doors for sure. So that would be like, for example, let's say I have an urge to watch YouTube while I eat. I made the choice not to watch YouTube while I eat. Like, I didn't continue the thought further or whatever sensual thought I may have gotten. So basically, guarding the sense doors is like, you can't avoid contact with certain things. Like, you might see something, hear something, think of something, but what you can do is not pursue said contact or like continue the chain. Like, you might have a pleasant sight or let's say an urge to open an app, but then like there's like, if mindfulness is established to a sufficient degree, there's like a choice there. Am I gonna continue and open the app, or am I just gonna like move attention elsewhere? And on those days where I felt really motivated to guard the sense doors, those were some preceding conditions where my meditation was much deeper. My concentration was able to be established, mindfulness was able to be established, and rapture arose. Also, one of the conditions was days where I actually slept well, was energized. I felt really energized in those days where jhana was possible. Like, those were usually the days where I wasn't really tired or sleepy, but days where the mind was really energized. Now you can arouse energy, but I feel like it's easier if you're just not tired, right? So that was also one of the conditions. So one of them was guarding the sense doors. The other one was just being well rested, so the mind could stay alert and concentrated, so it's not as difficult. So sloth and torpor is not such a hindrance. Another condition was obviously virtue, like, you know, being established in at least the 5 precepts. Like sometimes I do uposatha days where I follow the 8 precepts. Of course, meditation becomes even more established then, but the 5 precepts is enough, I think. Then, I mean, yeah, you can say the 5 precepts is enough, but I do recollect that on those days, technically, I was kind of following the 8 precepts. Like, not intentionally, but like just by how I was spending my time and the choices I was making. So, yeah, you can take that as you will. Also, what was interesting, oftentimes before such a sit, I read a sutra that really inspired me. Like, I don't know, like I remember one time I had a really good sit, really solid jhana. I was reading Majjhima Nikaya 78, and that sutra really inspired me, really motivated me, and I went in and I was really determined. So one of the conditions was determination. I was really determined to establish firm mindfulness, stay with the object. So what have I named now? Like following the precepts, so virtue, then sense restraint. I was guarding the sense doors actively. Then having a lot of energy, so the hindrance of sloth was not present. And then I was really inspired by the Dharma, so I had a lot of determination to follow through and continuously establish mindfulness until it's stabilized. I never really struggled with sensuality or ill will when it comes to meditating, because I kind of just decide, now I'm meditating, so nothing else. But yeah, that usually it's either restlessness or sloth and torpor that gets me, but that's why resting and determination is so important. Also, I had one more thing I remembered that I felt was important. Oh yeah, and I also did, funnily enough, I did like some sort of like moving concentration based activity, like walking meditation beforehand, or oftentimes yoga. And why I like yoga, even though like the Buddha never talked about yoga, is because like it kind of loosens up the body. So when you do a sitting meditation, your body doesn't feel as tight, your hips don't feel as tight. And if you do yoga like the way it's intended to, you often already establish a great amount of mindfulness, because you're concentrating on your body, on the breath. So it's like a good warm-up. So yeah, oftentimes these things really came together. Every time I had a sit where my meditation session was capable of establishing jhana, it was like guarding the sense doors, first established in virtue, guarding the sense doors, inspired by the Dharma, having strong determination that day, having prior like calming conditions. And then like, you know, sometimes I'll be sitting for an hour and like not hit jhana. Sometimes I'll be doing a 10-minute sit and hit it in like, I guess 2 minutes if I estimate, and have a really good meditation. Like, so it's not even the duration of the sitting that's always important. It's more the prior conditions. That's why I'm putting so much emphasis on what happened before I went meditating, because that's, I think, really important. And that's why the Buddha always laid out the sequence: virtue, sense restraint, abandoning the 5 hindrances through various means, like being rested so you're not tired, being determined so you're not restless, you know, abandoning sensuality and ill will by not following it, usually done by guarding the sense doors also. I mean, I never struggled with ill will simply because like people act according to their conditioning. That doesn't mean like I agree with everything people do, but also I sort of acknowledge that sometimes there were just conditions playing out, not necessarily something I could like construct a whole moral identity for them. So ill will is not really a problem, and sensuality, like, it's kind of like once you taste jhana, you don't really, your mind doesn't really want sensuality as much, and especially when you're trying to meditate, kind of wants the like the pleasure from concentration is kind of better. So that's also what I wanted to add, like, you can't really appreciate meditation until you've had like a really solid experience. Then you'll see just how concentrated and pleasant a concentrated mind is, like how usable it is, how, like, even when you emerge from it, like, just like, I can't even explain it, like, it's such a wholesome pleasure, not like the sensual kind where it's so dependent and so pushy and so like outward facing and so fragmented, where you're like focusing on like the pleasure, the anticipation, the desire for it to last, the whatever. It's so messy, it's so pushy, it's so contracted, it's so tense. Where like jhana is like the mind is collected, it's for the moment independent from sensuality, it's secluded from sensuality, from unwholesome states. It's a pleasant abiding, and it makes the mind much more wieldy and usable to contemplate things, to observe impermanence, and the mindfulness is much more established. So very pleasant, like very pleasant. Like, you know, I haven't uprooted sensuality. The option is still there. There's still some delight there, but once you establish at least first jhana often enough, and I'm aiming for further jhana, I would love to reach fourth jhana one day. That sounds awesome, and it feels like it would really help out. But even first jhana, it's just like there's nothing compared to, like, nothing sensual is like even close to meditation pleasure. Like, holy, I can't explain it. Like, it just, like, imagine just such a clean mind, like such an unburdened, you don't know it until you taste it. Like, when a mind is always chasing something, or at least even slightly doesn't know a pleasure apart from sensual pleasure, it's just like it's so coarse, it's so messy, it's so contracted, the sensual pleasures. Whereas at least jhana, and I know jhana is also conditioned, I'm not saying it's not, you know, also dukkha in a way, but it's much better. Like, just much better. Like, if you just sat in jhana all day, it would be just much more entertaining. I mean, not entertaining, but just much more pleasant than just doing some sensual things. It would feel cleaner, it would feel much less blameworthy, and your mind would be left a lot more usable and pleasant after, instead of like fragmented and chasing and just I can't even, like, I'm sorry, like, but it's not a version, like, in the sense, but it's like every time I feel myself craving something, it just feels so, body tenses up, like there's this reaching, grabbing motion the mind does, and it's like it's not really pleasant. It's, yeah, it's not it, man. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video helped anyone that's trying to meditate, and I'll see you in another video.